Listen up. Before I recognized these 8 bad money habits, my finances were a hot mess. We're talking $100,000 of student loan debt, always overdrafting my bank account, and literally not knowing what was going on with my money. But once I realized these unconscious money habits, I was able to replace them with good money habits, and that's exactly what helped me get out of $100,000 of debt in 7 years, and it's also what helped me make a lot more money. We're talking adding up to 6 zeros to my bank account. The first money habit that keeps you poor is judging rich people. I actually grew up in a Korean Christian household, so I grew up really with this programming that rich people are greedy, people who have money are bad, and if you are rich, it's gonna be harder for you to go to heaven. I actually coached this one girl once, and she was from Brazil, and after digging a bit, we figured out that in Brazil, where politicians are extremely corrupt and usually people who get to the top and make a lot of money got there because they bribed politicians and just did bad things. And so we figured out that all her life she's been sort of saying no to money. Every time she had a chance to kind of hold on to what she made, she would just give it away, be too nice, and do all these kind of self-sabotaging behaviors. And we figured out that it's because she had this association that having money equals being greedy and evil, and she didn't want to be that way. Because when you judge people who have something, then you're basically saying, I'm different from them. You're separating yourself from them. And it's just the way the mind and the subconscious works. You're never going to become them. And so if you identify that you have this kind of habit of thinking of rich people that way, then the next step is to reprogram that. This is step number 1 if on your journey to becoming more financially secure. Start challenging the programming that you might have grown up with. So one way to do this is, what are all the ways that rich people are actually good? The minute I got out of debt and started making a lot more extra to play with, I paid $10,000 for my mom to get this stem cell treatment in her knee. Every day she would wake up with incredible pain in her knee. She had trouble going up the stairs, and I was able to pay for this treatment for her. And now she doesn't have that pain anymore. So there's so many examples of how money can do good. So seek out those examples, because that will serve your mind and your bank account a lot more. On a bigger scale, there's also billionaires like Ray Dalio, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates. These billionaires have something called the Giving Pledge. Look it up, it's a real thing. I think it was 80 billionaires around the world. They pledged to give the majority of their wealth away to philanthropy and charitable causes. So yes, there are people who are greedy, who have money, they do bad things with it, but there's also a whole world of people who made their money with hard work, honesty, and are doing amazing things with it and making the world a better place. You can become one of those people. Really, the world, especially these days, needs you to stop judging people with money, and the world needs you to become one of those people. Money habit number 2 that keeps you poor is paying yourself last. I completely understand what it's like to grow up without money, and the minute you become an adult, once you make a paycheck, you have a job, you have money coming in, you have this urge to spend money when you have it, because you want to live it up, you want to YOLO, you don't want to have that feeling of scarcity. And then you tell yourself, at the end of the month, I'll save what I have left. And it's okay if you do this, because this is how the majority of the world manages their money. But the thing about that is, it rarely ever works. The reason why that never works is because of something called Parkinson's law. So Parkinson's law states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. And it's the idea that if you have 10 hours to finish a task, you're gonna spend 10 hours to finish it. If you have 1 hour to finish a task, you're gonna finish that task in 1 hour. If you have a month to finish that task, you're gonna take a month. So it's the exact same thing with money. If you have $1,000 in your bank account, you're gonna spend it. If you have $10,000 in there, you're gonna spend that too. As soon as you get paid, set aside a percentage. Whatever it is that you can manage, start with $5 if that's all you can handle. 5%, 10%, I like something more like 20%, but just give it off the top. Set up an automated transfer to a separate, high interest online savings account that you don't see, that is not connected to your debit card, and just move it over there as soon as you get paid. Ideally, it's automated so it doesn't depend on your willpower. That's what you call paying yourself first. Because honestly, you deserve it, right? You earned that money. The reason why this works is it actually tricks you into thinking that you have less money than you actually have. If all you see in your bank account is $500, that's what you're gonna spend. You just have to find a way to work with your psychology by paying yourself first and doing it all in an automated way. Money habit number 3 is keeping up with friends with different budgets. Holy shit, I love this one because it's just hilarious to me that even among friends that have known each other for years and years and hang out all the time, you won't even talk about your finances together. Like, money is such a taboo subject, and this is how it was for me too, until I decided to find friends who were more comfortable talking about money so that we could all like learn from each other and rise together. Like, when I was in college, I remember I would go out with these international students, and they would freaking party so hard and just like buy drinks for everyone, and it would be a lot of fun with them. And then later I realized that they had parents back in their home countries who gave them a credit card to use. So they didn't work. Me, on the other hand, I was paying for my own apartment, I was taking on student loans to pay for tuition, and I worked at a restaurant to pay for all the things that I also needed, like my food and whatever, subway card. My situation is very different from those friends. So if I try to keep up with them, I would have gone broke. A lot of the friends that you hang out with, you don't know how they're financing their lifestyle. They could have trust funds. Maybe their parents bought them a house and they're not paying rent, so they can blow $1,500 a month on stupid shit. Or maybe those friends are going deeply into credit card debt and having that fabulous lifestyle by going into debt. If you want to get out of debt, if you can't afford to go to that fun Miami trip over the weekend that everyone wants to go to, let them know why. Your budget is your budget. There's no shame in that. Now, if you have trouble saying no, I have a little script for you. You can say, hey, like, that sounds really fun. I would love to go, but I currently have some financial goals that I'm working towards. I'm trying to pay off my debt. I'm saving for a down payment on a house. So do you mind if we do something a little more low key instead? Like hang out and watch a movie at my place? If they're real friends, they're gonna love that. They'll be like, yeah, of course, sure. Or yeah, let's have a movie at your place. Tell me about some of your financial goals. That sounded really cool. It could really open up something new in your friendship that you didn't think possible. So try it. All right, money habit number 4 is avoiding looking at your numbers. Most people do not look at their bank account. They just spend. They don't even look at their credit card either. And they just gonna hope that it's gonna be okay, that it's gonna work out, that they'll maybe, hopefully have some money left at the end of the month. And this is a real problem because if you don't know what your starting point is, then how are you gonna correct that to get to something better? I think it's human nature to want to avoid something that makes you feel uncomfortable, but you gotta have courage. If you want your finances to improve, if you want to get out of debt one day and have some money for a better future one day, you need to look at your numbers. Like, remember I mentioned that I got out of $100,000 of student loans in 7 years? I remember so vividly that day that I stood in my living room and I put on a piece of paper my assets versus my liabilities. So everything I had saved and everything that I owed. And I wrote the exact number, dollar amount down to the dollar, what I owed, and I totaled everything up, and my net worth was something along the lines of minus $100,000. I took a big gulp when I saw that number. Like, it was like, holy shit, that's a lot. But I also felt like this huge sigh of relief because I finally knew what was going on. And once I knew what was going on, I knew I could take the moves to improve that. So it really all starts with looking at your numbers. I promise it's not as scary as it sounds. What I want you to do is set a monthly money date for yourself and make it fun, make it enjoyable. Put on a candle, put on some music, get your laptop out in front of you, log into all of your accounts, and update your balances for your savings accounts, retirement accounts. Look at what you have in your investment accounts. Look at how they're doing, and check your credit card balance. Use an app like Mint or YNAB if you want to see like where your money went that month. See how much you've paid off on your credit cards and student loans. See those numbers going down. Just be aware of what's going on. I swear it's so empowering and you will love it once you start doing it. Okay, the 5th money habit that keeps you poor is not charging your worth. This is not about being greedy. Your time is your life. So you need to charge for it because your life is worth a lot. If you are at a job and other people in the same position are making more, don't let that happen. This is especially common, I know, with women. There's many reasons why there's a gender pay gap, but this is also one of those things. Like, I don't want to make generalizations about all women, but we tend to be overqualified for positions and still not go for them. And then once we're in those positions, we don't charge what we could possibly make. Back when I was working on Wall Street in corporate, I knew there was a guy who was making a little bit more than me in the exact same position, and I just kind of let it go. And that's not the right attitude to have. If you're doing work, you're good at what you do, make sure you're charging top dollar for it. You can use websites like Glassdoor.com or Payscale.com. You can also talk to recruiters in your industry, like call them up. Even if you're not job hunting, just pretend that you are and kind of like get a feel for what is the salary range for people with your level of experience. And then when it's time to negotiate or when you're getting a new job, start your negotiation at the top of that range, because employers know how to kind of negotiate you down, have the lowest number that you're willing to go down to, and stand firm, like own your value, right? Like be confident in what you bring to the table. And yes, maybe it's a little bit harder to say that in a harder job market. I know that these days people are getting laid off and whatever, maybe you're like lucky to have any job, but you just have to have an abundance mindset. Like even in recessions, people make money. People who are really good at what they do and are confident in what they have to offer, they'll always find a way to make money, even in a recession. So I want you to be one of those people. Charge what you're worth. It's so interesting how, like, for the same service, say like a massage or copywriting or dog sitting, there's a whole range of hourly rates or even fixed rates for a project. And I literally won't trust a dog sitter, for example, that charges too little for their services, because I want my dog to be looked after by someone who is really good at what they do, the best at what they do. So if I see a dog sitter on Rover charging like $30 a night versus like $80 a night, I'm not gonna go with the $20 a night. Like I want someone who is confident in what they have to offer and aren't afraid to charge for it, because then I know that I'm getting quality. So keep that in mind. Being like the lowest or the cheapest, you're really not doing anyone a favor. Your self-worth will increase, the way other people perceive you will increase, and you'll definitely see a lot more zeros coming into your bank account. Now, if you have confidence issues with charging that much and owning your worth, then start there. Maybe you need to actually work on your skills and become better at your craft so that you can charge more. Because if you're gonna charge top dollar, you need to have the goods to back it up. I want you to start raising your confidence level to match the pay that you want versus lowering the pay that you accept in order to match your confidence level, which is down here. All right, the next money habit that keeps you poor is spending without a plan. So does this sound familiar? Payday hits, and you start spending, paying all your bills, going after those dopamine hits when you make a new purchase, YOLO, and then at the end of the month, you're like, where did all of it go? Every time, I would be shocked at what my credit card balance had racked up to, because when you don't have a plan, it's too easy to justify every purchase as you make it.
Oh, I deserve this. Today I'm tired. I'm just gonna order Uber Eats. Like, I've worked hard. I'm gonna buy myself this.
Like, there's always a very, very good rationalization for why you should make a purchase. And so the only way to get off this hamster wheel of living paycheck to paycheck and never having anything to show for all the hard work that you do is to have a spending plan, also known as a budget, but I like to call it a spending plan because it just sounds less scary. So one way to make a spending plan is to use the classic 50-30-20 budget. So this is a guideline that says 50% of your take-home pay, that's after taxes, like what actually hits your account, goes towards rent, bills, necessities, minimum payments on debt, stuff that you need to survive and stay out of trouble with creditors. And then 30% of your take-home pay is going to go towards wants, shopping, Uber Eats, trips, fun stuff. And then the remaining 20% goes towards your future, your 401k, your IRA, retirement, savings goals, down payment on house, or extra payments on your debt. I actually have a more detailed spending plan where I list out all of my categories that I'd like to spend money on that month. If, for example, I spend too much on eating out and it's already like only 10 days into the month, well, I would see that if I have a spending plan, and then from there I can adjust. So if my friend invites me for dinner that weekend, it's gonna probably cost around $50. I could either do one of two things. I could be like, yeah, sure, I wanna come to that dinner. And then I'll take $50 out of a different category, like maybe getting my nails done. I'll take it out of that category, skip my manicure for the week, and go to dinner instead. Or I could be like, you know what? There's nothing else in my budget that I wanna like take that money from, and I've already maxed out basically my eating out budget for the month, so I think I'll skip that dinner. Like, you can do whatever you want, but the point is you want to make spending decisions knowing the full picture, knowing what are the opportunity costs, and why you should say yes or no to things. A spending plan is not deprivation. It's a way to say yes to yourself. It's a way to say yes to your retirement, a way to say yes to financial security, a way to say yes to having money to do the things that you want with your life. Because I know a lot of people associate budgeting and guidelines with deprivation, but I really want you to like make that switch, because once you start following a spending plan, you will have a lot more money than you ever thought possible in your bank account, and that's really the only way you can really live it up and YOLO, right? Is if you have money in your bank account. Okay, money habit number 7 is prioritizing looking rich versus being rich, because there's a real difference. I think these days we get kudos for flexing on social media and looking rich, having all the trappings of a nice lifestyle. You know, the nice car, the big house, the luxurious trips, the fancy dinners, and people will be like, wow, like that girl looks so cool, like that guy is killing it. But really, just because you have a nice lifestyle doesn't mean your finances are secure. I want you to think about how you can turn that income to something permanent, like net worth. If you put that into an investment like the S&P 500, buy some stocks, put it into your 401k, put it into a savings account, that adds to your net worth, and that gives you real financial security and options for the future. I remember I posted a YouTube video once in an Airbnb that I rented because I was traveling, and the video was about how much passive income I make in a month. It was like $58,000, and I was giving real tips, and some troll commented like, oh, if you make $58,000 a month passively, why does your furniture still look like it's from IKEA? And I laughed so much at this comment because that just shows like the culture of flexing that we live in. Like, just because I make a lot of money doesn't mean I can't have IKEA furniture. Like, why not? Because I don't care about flexing and buying the nicest things and looking rich. I actually care about being rich. Because the real flex at the end of the day is being able to quit a job that you hate because your boss treats you like shit, waking up whenever you want to a notification of passive income dividend payments on your phone. That's the real flex. So I want you to think about how you can stop trying to look rich and actually start pursuing actions that will make you be rich. All right, money habit number 8 is not taking any action. We live in a day and age where information is everywhere. If you want to improve your finances and become wealthy, there's no shortage of information on the internet on how to do it. I have read so many finance books in my life, and literally none of them would have made a difference if I didn't actually execute what the books told me to do. One of the books that made the biggest difference in my life was Think and Grow Rich. So this book tells you exactly how to kind of shift your mindset to make a lot of money. And they outline these 12 steps to riches. But when I read that book, I listed out the 12 steps. I made a little cheat sheet, and I would look at it all the time, and I actually did those steps. That's exactly what helped me create a 7-figure business in just a few years and get out of debt faster than I ever thought possible. I like to think with action comes the chance of failure, comes the chance of making mistakes, but with inaction comes the 100% guarantee of failure. So it's always better to find ways to move forward and take little bits of actions towards your goals rather than not doing anything. And inaction has a real cost too, especially when it comes to investing. Because let's say if you invest $500 a month into, say, the S&P 500 over a period of 30 years, you will have contributed $180,000 of your own money, the $500 a month, but your account would have grown to almost $1 million. That is the power of investing. And that's basically around $780,000 of free money that the stock market gave you because you invested. But if you don't take action, you're not going to have any of that, right? So inaction really has a cost. So breaking a lot of these bad money habits will require you to do things that make you feel a little uncomfortable. It'll require you to think beyond the status quo. Because the status quo these days is to have a lot of debt, put everything on a credit card, prioritize short-term gratification over long-term financial security and happiness. That is the status quo. I want you to go beyond the status quo. Wherever you are in life, you have what it takes to take control of your money and to create a better financial future and to get out of debt. So I'll leave you with this quote. If you want a hard life, make easy decisions. If you want an easy life, make hard decisions. That is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that it helped. Let me know any insights that you had in the comments below, and I'll see you